Welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so called African American didn't come to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the Indigenous One, and today we're going to talk about a subject that's dear and near to all of our hearts. And that's today we're going to focus on us, on you. We're not going to focus on what we hear other people talk about. We're not going to focus on the ancient Egyptians. We're not going to focus on these stories we hear about us in the Bible. We're not going to focus on what we hear about other people. We're not going to focus on what we hear about people in Chicago. We're not going to focus on what we hear about people in New York. We're not going to focus on what we hear about people in Los Angeles. We're not going to focus on what we hear about folks in Miami. We're going to simply focus on ourselves. We're going to make this really simple because there's a lot of confusion going out amongst the people who call themselves African Americans. There's a lot of confusion, and that confusion stops us from a nation full of people, a huge nation full of people. What that kind of ideology teaches us is to stop moving and to stop doing things to keep those people, all of those people, moving forward. And that all starts with us. So we're going to take a deep look at ourselves and some of the things that I think are we should focus on, where we don't get confused and where we don't get stopped and where we don't get overran by other people, because that's what's happening to us now. Now, I know there's many of you who hate yourselves. And what I mean by hate yourselves is when you talk about women, when you talk about American women, you talk about them in the most dogmatic way you can. Same thing with sisters. When you talk about brothers, when you talk about your sons, when you talk about your fathers, when you talk about all these idiots out here, and trust me, the majority of people are, but we make them like that. We can't blame other people for what we create. So when your baby is born, instead of giving him the tit, you give him Similac that's going to mess his brain up. And you know that. But we like to take the soft way out. We like to take the easy way out and make sure our children are destroyed. That's nobody's fault but our own. See, we keep looking stupid when we go out here and try to march and try to protest against things that we allow other people to do to us. That is foolish. And that's why this message is being put out today. So please, I hope you don't take it personal. I hope you don't cry and think I'm talking about you. It's not about that. It's just simply to show you the way to look at things that we can prosper off of instead of getting our ass kicked off of things. So I just want to give you a brief synopsis of what's going on and where we need to go. And you can take this where you want to. You don't have to believe it, but I would encourage you. My one desire that you're listening to this, I would hope that you would pass this information down to your children, because we all know we're all not going to be here forever, and our children are going to have to take up for what we have left off. And we shouldn't leave our children in the same lurch that we were in. Okay? So I just want to make that fact, make that point, because all this crying and blaming other people for what we do is really getting on my motherfucking nerves. Cool? All right. So what we want to do, the first thing we want to check on and make sure of, is that we all understand this. If you don't understand, if you don't get what I'm saying, is cool. You just get off now because you won't get it. It's hard. You've been taught another way. You won't get it. You've been taught since you've been in Sunday school to do one thing, and that one thing you have taught is to do is to be a work against yourself. That's what the African American does. That's what he was cloned to do. Work against himself. Why? So he can work in the interest of others. That's what an African American is. And I've said this on many videos before. The African American has been cloned to work against himself. Period. I don't care how it feels, how it makes you feel all cute in the gut. That's what the African American does, works against himself. Go back to some of the old videos and I'll explain it. I've explained it in detail. And so some of the images you might see are some today are some of the images you've seen before. Because of course we have to repeat ourselves because we're not listening. So this image right here that you see right here is called the reconciliation between Britannia and her daughter America. Now, this is one of the first images that when the people were coming over, you see they still dressed in their what they wore at home, and the sister is dressed what she lived off of. You see, she have some leaves around her. They didn't, ruin the plants for that. She just took leaves from some of the plants, some of the trees, and made her clothes. The males and females did that in the months where it was cool to do that. See, this is not a winter picture. They didn't dress like that in the winter. They had different clothes they wore in the winter. But in the summer, in the South, where it's hot, where it's humid, this is what they wore. So what you see the Portuguese, Dutch, French, I think the Portuguese is Dutch, French, and English, they're all trying to they're trying to get uh, Britannia to not be cool with uh, America. This is the symbolization of America. Now, we all know how these men treat their women. You have this Me Too movement or Don't Touch Me movement, or all these women coming out saying that these men have been dogging them to get, because these women want to do certain things. And in order to do them over the way that the new America does it, you have to give up some pussy. We all know that. You're not getting the job unless you're giving up some of that pussy. That's how these white boys go by it. We know this is how they do it because they have nothing else to they have nothing else. They set up a pyramid for them to work out of, and we all know how it works because we all work into it. And in order to climb up that pyramid, you must do me favors. And one of the favors you must satisfy me is to satisfy my carnal wishes. This is a whole nother story. This is what they do. This is what you see the women blaming all these directors and Harvey Weinsteins and Bill Cosby and blah blah blah, because these guys are in positions to make their lives easier. If the women want their lives easier, they have to give a pussy to get it. We all know that. Let's stop gasping and really, I didn't know. You know, this has been going on for a long time. So this is the representation of America. This is the woman who birthed all the so-called, what you call African Americans. This is the mother of all of them. Not those of you who came from Africa, because Africa produced you. The mother Africa produced you. The females are the ones who give birth to the males. No male's feet touches the ground unless he comes through a woman. It's simple. We experience this every day. Unfortunately, what we have in the African American male, he's so confused at this time, and the African American male is confused, is because he thinks in the Christian dichotomy that he comes from a man. That's what the story of Adam and Eve is about. The Lord God is not God. Anytime you have to put another word in front of the word that you're talking about, means you are trying to change what you are talking about. Lord God isn't the same as God. You wouldn't change the name. God is God. If you believe in that sort of thing. Lord God is meaning you're changing what God is. And a Lord is a landlord, warlord, and everybody hates them because they cause so much misery and they cause so much hardship and they cause so much strife. So the Lord God and the man God, the Lord God and some cat named Adam made some woman named Eve. If you believe in that story, you might want to leave this right now because we're not going to be talking about it coming out of that. These people, this sister that you see, America, she had her own creation story. They created their own creation story. Unfortunately, the African American, we have taken the stories of other people and tried to wrap ourselves around us. That's why we find ourselves lost today. And now that I'm telling you this, and you've been knowing this because it's been said many times before me, you refuse to change it and make it work for you. That's why we suffer. Because we are always trying to play dumb. And when I say play dumb, I mean playing it. Because really, y'all, really, this is what we do. So when we talk about, or when I talk about America, this is the picture that comes up in my mind because she looks like any sister you see on the street in any one of these cities. Big hips, long hair, curly hair. We'll get into that. This is the woman who was the mother to of us all. This isn't her in reality, but this is a representation of us. These are all these nations that you see now, that all the nations that you pay rent to, all the nations that you follow, all the nations that you buy from, all the nations that you give your energy to. This is the female that tried to get, when you see them all trying to pull her away from Britannia, the other female, that's what the picture is. All of these people, Dutch, see Dutch hearings, French, all these people. This dude right here has a foxtail on him. This guy to the right has a foxtail on him. They're foxes. What did Malcolm X tell you about foxes? The information is out there for us. We just don't pay attention to it. We have football games to watch. We have basketball games to watch. We have to watch the stories. We got to go to the movies. We're not paying attention to what's happening to us. That's what we're talking about today. So that's the mother of all of us. It's not the literal mother. It's a representation of us because that's what my mama looks like. That's what my sister look like. That's what my daughters look like. That's what my nieces look like. That's what my aunts look like. That's what the girlfriends I've had look like. That's what the women in my neighborhood look like. You're the indigenous people of America. You're not African. You're not Hebrew Israelite. Well, those of you who think you're that, go be that. Go to those home bases and be that. Your land is, your mother is calling you back home. She, in turn, birthed this brother. This is from an image called the uh, Indian uh, Indian warrior entering his wigwam with a scalp. These people are coming over here trying to take your land, and you're doing to them just like those people in the Sentinelese Island did to that Christian who came over there trying to spread Christianity to them. They got rid of his ass. Why? Because those people on that island have heard when people are trying to come in and get into your culture, they will kill you out to try to steal it. This is something that the African American, he doesn't comprehend this because he doesn't think this is him. See, what you have African American, this brother that you see right here isn't a Hebrew Israelite. This brother that you see right here in front of you isn't a Moor. This brother that you see in front of you isn't an Egyptian. This brother that you see in front of you isn't a Muslim. This brother that you see in front of you isn't a Christian. This brother that you see in front of you isn't a nigger. This brother that you see in front of you isn't all these names that we like to use. He isn't an, this dude isn't an African American. This dude doesn't consider himself black. This dude doesn't consider himself Negro. These are your people. But somebody has taught you that these integer people, you're all those names that I just mentioned. and it wears us out. This is who your people were. And the reason he has a scalp in his hand because people were coming over here trying to take, well, they didn't try, they took your land. And today, his great, 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 great grandkids, they happily, with a smile, give up the resources that he left for them to other people and will slap the shit out of you if you say he shouldn't do that. Right? Right. We're going to hop a little farther because I don't want to keep you. It's a Friday night, and I know you know how the African American Friday nights go. This right here is called a sister, and I would suggest that all of us get into her. She's a sister named Henrietta Lacks. This is important for us to get into and to realize who we are. This sister was a sister that was born in North Carolina. It was either North Carolina or Virginia, and she worked on a tobacco farm. So all the images we show you of you working on a tobacco farm and where you hear the term Blackfoot from or Tar Heels from, it comes from the people who worked up in those industries. Tobacco is your industry. You find it odd that the Negro doesn't make any cigarettes? He doesn't have his own cigarette company? These people came over here and seen the industries that you had and took them from you with the help of your people and with the help of some other people that he brought over here to help them, to help fool you into thinking you were them just because they look like you. And of course, you had some brothers from here who wanted to work with him, who wanted to be in his armies, who wanted to follow his what do you call that? His religious ideologies, which is what we have now. So what makes this sister special is because this sister, she was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and so just and she died, and so she did. It's not really any death. No death is happening. It's just that we're doing is recycling. We're evolving into something else. So this sister story, and I'll suggest that you all read it and find out about her because it's not just her, she's you. See, this sister right here, she's a part of this woman right here, which is a mother to us all. Not literally, because I know we'll get it twisted and we'll confuse the story even more. It's just an image that you can put in your head of who are the Americans, who are the Americans. We'll get into that later too. That's gonna blow you away. Who are the Americans? It's these people right here. So this mother right here, she's the mother of her. She's the mother of her mother. She's the mother of her grandmother. The same with you. She's the mother of your grandmother. She's the mother of your mother. Of course, it goes back further than that. I am not taking this literally. I am just saying this is what you connect to find out who you really are. And once you connect to it, you'll be like, damn. So this is Henrietta Lacks. And one thing that's about Henrietta Lacks, her cells are still used to this day to keep life going all over the world. I mean, that's the best way I can put it. Some of you might have some other ways that you can put it. So let's just check out and study this sister. I'm just giving you a little bit of her so many of you can go and find out other things about you. But incredible what this sister's doing, which is what you do, which is what your children do, which is what your parents do. But since you don't think this is you, you think you come from a desert over and across the ocean somewhere. That's what you believe. You think you're Egyptian. This woman isn't you. You won't study it. You won't teach your children to study about yourself. Since you think that these people came over here locked in the trunk of a ship, breathing methane gas, drinking shit, eating piss, you think that's what you are. But this is who you are right here. And you let these idiots tell you that that's what you are. You came over here in a slave ship across the Atlantic. Are you crazy? The story doesn't even make logical sense, logistical sense. Yet you believe it every day. This is what's in your mind. This is what Alex Haley taught you in that movie Roots. He didn't teach you that this is what you are. So let's read about a little bit about this sister, and it'll give you a little bit of insight to yourself. You are not the nigga that they say you are. You are not the person in the trunk of a ship swimming around trying to cross the Atlantic. That's not you. That's a story that's been given to you. As medical records show, Miss Lax began undergoing radium treatments for her cervical cancer. This was the best medical treatment available at this time for this terrible disease. Now, why do they say this is the best medical treatment available at this time for this disease? Because they can say, oh, we were just experimenting on her. We have better treatments now. We have better treatments now in 2020 than we had in 1945, 1950 when she was going through this. A sample of her cervical cells retrieved during a biopsy were sent to George Gay's nearby tissue lab. For years, Dr. Gay, a prominent cancer and virus researcher, had been collecting cells from all patients who came to the Johns Hopkins Hospital with cervical cancer. But each sample quickly died in Dr. Gay's lab. What he would soon discover was Mrs. Lack's cells were unlike any others we had ever seen. Where other cells would die, Miss Lack's cells would double every 20 to 24 hours. That's important information for us because it tells you the last few words say Miss Lack's cells doubled every 20 to 24 hours. What are cells? What are cells? You see why it's important for us not to talk about ourselves in a negative connotation? You see why it's important for us to not call our women bitches and hoes? You see why it's important for us to say our men ain't shit? It's not important for us to say that. Why? Because when they start thinking like that, the cells will go in that direction. This is simple, you guys. I'm being simple as I possibly can. So this is Henrietta Lacks. And all I'm saying is she was in the DC, North Carolina, Baltimore area. But it just isn't those people, it's all the people who are born on America's land. That's why people come over here and trick you out of it, to teach you that you come from somewhere else so they can take your resources. That's all it's about. That's all warfare is about. We we join the people who want to take our stuff and start to teach our people that they're from somewhere else, that there's something else, making it easier for people to come over and steal your shit. You motherfuckers gonna pay for that. This lets you know. So she had to go through radiation treatment. I'm not going to tarry on this too long because this isn't my specialty. But I will say radiation therapy for cervical cancer. I don't know how radiation and therapy, use it in a word, in one word, could mean something good. But I would employ many of you who are in school now, many of you who are curious, many of you who want to know more. I would say that you study this and see what they did to that sister. And what they did to that sister is what they're doing to a lot of sisters today. And this is what I'm saying. We have to come up with ways to make ourselves better. We have to use the earth. We have to use the plants to make ourselves better. Because if we're not looking at ourselves of who we are, we're looking at ourselves as characters out of a Bible, we'll go by their ways of doing things. And how has that been working? How has that been working out so far? Okay. This right here is a brother called James Brown. And one of the things, and I just want to make this dichotomy to show you how we get twisted up on things. Now, talented brother who saw what his people were going through. But a couple of things I want to just make, and this is one of the words that we have to stop using because it puts us further away from our goals. When this brother was coming out, they didn't use the term African American. They used the term black. What you and everybody else can see is this brother is not black. Now, the collar on his coat may be black, his hair may be black. What you see, the black around him may be black, but he's not black. He's what you would consider a red man because he looks red. Now, the brainwashing in the African American, the brainwashing has been so thick that they call this cat and they call themselves black. Black means dead. Black means no movement. Even this cat said, "Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud," but he's not black. What I'm trying to get you to understand are these were terms that were given to us that other people would call us to put us in a condition where they can capitalize off of us. This guy is nowhere near black. And you don't know nobody that is black. So why keep using the word? Why keep using that term black if you are not black? Okay? See, these are things we have to know. Because if we teach ourselves black, I don't care if you don't know what the definition is for. Most African Americans don't know what they're talking about when they talk. That's why we're in the position that we're in now. Because we say things that we don't know what the hell we talking about. And then try to stand up, in our ego like we do know what we're talking about and we don't. This guy is not black, so why degrade yourself like that? He's a red man. If you put a penny up to his face, the penny would disappear. Why? He also told you living in America. He was giving you clues even if he didn't know it. The industry that he was in, that entertainment industry, is to make sure that the so-called African American black Negro people are dumb. So other people can come over here and use you. If you don't understand that, you won't understand nothing in life. When these people came over here, this is called American English, what we're speaking. Because when these people came into this culture, into this country, they couldn't speak the language that they used over there in England because it's a foreign language. You have to try to get in touch with the people over here. So they came up with something called American English. They took their words and tried to break them down where they can fit, where they can use them against you. So when they came over here and they started their first dictionary, 1828 dictionary, this was the definition of an American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. The name America must always exalt the pride of patriotism. So I just want to use this definition right here to show how the so-called African American Negro has been mind fucked and how he's been helping his mind get fucked all along. So let's take this definition and break it down so we can digest it and so we can pass it on to our children so they can digest it. It's a native of America. Now, a native of America isn't the same as indigenous to America. A native is a person born in America. So what they're trying to do off the bat is to get you to get the people who are coming over here to take your stuff to get you to believe that these people are Americans too. They are not. You are not going to go to England and they're going to say that you're native to England. They'll say you're native to England, but they won't say that you are indigenous to England because they'll look at you and see that you're not. A native of America. Native simply means born here. Like you're in the holiday seasons now, you're going to see a whole bunch of nativity scenes. Jesus wasn't native. I'm sorry, Jesus wasn't, he wasn't indigenous to Bethlehem. He was born there. They were traveling through Bethlehem and he was born there. That's what native means. So they have the Negro over here saying, I'm a Native American. No, you're not. You can keep calling yourself if you want to, but remember, you keep saying something that will happen for you. You can call yourself a Native American. You can call yourself Aboriginal. Aboriginal means not original. I know what you're thinking. You're taking their definitions. That's the purpose of it, for you to take somebody else's definition and apply them to yourself. If you apply the definition that somebody gives you that they made up to yourselves, their dreams will come true and yours won't. I don't know how to make it more simpler. It's easy. Apply to the Aboriginals or copper colored races. Apply to the Aboriginals or copper colored races. Apply to the Aboriginal or copper colored races. Apply to the Aboriginals or copper colored races. Do you get it now? I'm trying to make this simple. I'm trying to make this simple. You're not black. I don't care what you say, what you think it to believe. It's not what you are. You are not the color of that page. That page is mostly black. His hair is black. You are not that. Stop calling yourselves that, because it allows other people to call you that and other people to call you names that you don't want to be called. You have never seen a black person in your life. These are words that you use and they have no power to them. Matter of fact, they put your ass in a binder deep than you are now. You are not black. I know James Brown said loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Why did he say that? Because at the time he was growing up, those were the terms that were used. When James Brown came out with those songs, the people weren't calling themselves African Americans, were they? That's why they changed the name of the group every generation or so to disconnect you from a previous group. It's simple. We have 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old people who should be up on this that are not. The majority are not. And so when they are called dumb, they want to be upset. Don't be upset, because this is what you're doing. You're making sure that we stay dumb, and we don't need that. So that's the definition of America. Okay? The copper colored race is found here by the Europeans. That's you. But you think you're somewhere else. You think you're biblical characters. You think you're Egyptians. You think you're Moors. You think you're people that were created in other lands. What does you thinking that that's you? That makes it easier for other people to come over here and take your shit. That's all it means. And you're doing it. You're doing it. You're saying it's okay. That's all it means. So when we look at the word America, we want to look at it because remember, it wasn't just the English that came over here. It was the Dutch, it was the Spanish, it was the German, it was all people. So when we take turns, remember, Louisiana is French. Mexico is Spanish. Spanish is Florida is Spanish. You go up there to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, those people are what? Danish or Norwegian. So different people came over here with different languages and they were speaking different languages. All those people don't speak the same way. But coming over here, we pick up what they brought over here because we're trying to learn the language because we're trying to be them. We're trying to survive in what they have set up. So this is simple. I mean, if you tell your 4-year-old to do this, they will figure it out. So we're going to break down the word American so we can see what it means. Because like I said, the British aren't the only ones who come over here. They were the ones who came over here who were trying to dominate you. So they're not going to give you no words. They're not going to give you no hand signs. They're not going to give you nothing to empower yourself. So if all these people came over here, they were speaking different languages. And if you break down their languages, this tells you simply who they're talking about. And Come on, y'all. Damn, this shit is too simple for us not to know. So all these words that we hear, they're syllables. They're broken down in different words, and they mean different things. They even mean letters. If you look at the Egyptian language, letters are the hand, the foot, a bird. All those may mean a certain letter, which means that these people that didn't come up with words, they were coming up with words uh, to get in with you. They had to make words. So they were talking in syllables, one syllable, grunts, moans to make words. So this is what the word, if you take the word America down, the first word, this is the French word for soul, A-M-E, soul. So, and I say that because down here in the South, many of us have been influenced by the French people because the French people is close to England. And when they came across here, across the Greenland, across Iceland, they had French people with them. That's why Canada is mostly French. And they came down the Mississippi River and spread that language with them. This is simple stuff that we should know when we teaching our children. But since we don't teach our children, we send them to other people to get taught. That's why we're in this position that we're in. So am simply means soul. Am simply means soul. Rican or Rico means rich. So who are the soul rich land or soul rich people? Who are the soul rich people? Who are the soul rich people? Who are the soul rich people? Don't they call him the godfather of soul? Don't they call Aretha Franklin the queen of soul? Don't they call Shaka Khan something of soul? Don't they call Gladys Knight something of soul? They're talking about you, but you want to be a Moor. You want to be a Hebrew Israelite. You want to be a dumb nigga. Why? Because other people tell you who you are. You don't take what nature shows you and what reality shows you and apply it to yourself. You're gonna pay for that. So all this that I just taught you was put in this book. African Americans Ain't Africans. You can get it from the African Americans Ain't African.org website. These are things that should be given to your people since you like to give gifts, since you're gonna go into all these big stores and support them, support us. We support you all the time. We don't ask for nothing. We don't try to sell you packets that don't get you nothing. We don't lie to you like all the what you normally pay for. Support us. Support us, supporting to show you who you are, to show you who you is. Look, y'all, we're in some crazy times right now. Now is not the time for us to be stupid. Now is not the time for us. I didn't know. You know. Everybody else knows. How come you don't? We'll get you next time.